let's the first part that strikes the string, and how do we get to that point?
Well,
where
this is a piano action. That's what makes the thing work. So it's a keyboard and mechanisms attached to each key. So there's a cross section of mechanisms, and it's about your touch playing here and it responding at that end.
And although that looks to be sort of fairly obvious, there are so many different working parts which go into that action at the other end.
Well, the secret of the piano action is that the hammer will rise, strike the string and bounce back, get away from the string, so that the sound is not blocked. So in the clavichord, which is an early keyboard instrument, the key was struck by a tangent and it actually blocked against the string, and that's what actually produced the sound. But in a piano, because we want loud and soft, which is the meaning of the word, they created, or they developed an escapement mechanism so that the hammer would strike and then get away very quickly. So that's really what the piano action is all about. And it's just, however, 88 times, 102, 108 times whatever the string bank might be.
Now this material that is striking the string, which the strings we'll be getting onto later on, which are slightly special too with your piano, aren't they? This material here is, what's it made from?
Felt. It's sheep. Well, it can be any kind of hair or wool, but the pianos use felt, usually merino felt, or merino wool rather, and it's fabricated into a tapered sheet so that the hammers in the bass are very large and the treble they're small. Essentially because the strings are long and short, and if you made that hammer strike a very short string, that would just be a dull thud, so there would be no sound. So the actual position where the string is struck is very specific, and if it's not struck at that point, there's not a very good sound. So you're going from 1/8 of the string's length in the bass to about 1/20th in the high treble.
And that, at the beginning of the video when Fiona was just about to start, you had this instrument out and you were sticking pins in it. Can you explain to people just a little bit about what that voicing does?
Well, as you see, the tapered felt sheet actually controls the speed of the hammer's return, or influences rather the speed of the hammer's return. So the quality of sound is governed by speed of return. So when you voice a piano, using that technical term, you're actually changing the hardness of the hammer by driving needles into it. So that's what you saw in that clip. So this felt gives you the ability to actually modify its density, and therefore the sound is either dull or brilliant, or too metallic or too dead. So it's all about controlling. The mechanism is set up to be an efficient transfer of kinetic energy from the pianist. So it's not a machine as such. It's a conveyor of emotional input. So a very triple F cadenza or something like that. The pianist, the action has to work in simpatico, if you like, with the pianist, so that what they're thinking and feeling, it's actually translated back in the acoustic realm. So it's really a conveyor of emotional kinetic energy, if that's such a thing. But
yeah, and the one big thing about the piano, and you will watch Fiona's foot on and off the pedal, is actually these here, because this is what stops the sound from continuing. And in actual fact, without the damper, you're really in trouble.
So there are all different profiles of damper, depending on the number of strings. So in the single strings, you have that shape. Where there are 3 strings and you want very specific damping, you have a W shape. And in the high treble, you have a combination at this point of that, and just a piece of what they call it's a butterfly shape. So it actually damps the string.
And that is the right-hand pedal, because I've been watching.
Yes, that's the sustaining pedal.
That
controls the
pedal,
damper.
which gets an awful lot of use.
Well, that's the heart of the piano. The sustaining pedal is the heart of the acoustic piano.
And on Fiona's piano, it is shined up. See the shining of all that footwork.
So that's the sustaining pedal, this one. That's the selective sustaining pedal, so that when you play a chord, it will only, it's selectively sustained. So you play the note and then catch it, and then only those notes sustain. This one is the whole thing that controls the whole damper. This is a shift pedal, so that moves the action in the grand piano to the right.
And can we just back up one step before that? How many pedals on a normal piano, and what are their purposes? So three.
You have three pedals on a standard piano.
Right.
And that's their function. And on these pianos, we put this pedal, which is a dynamic control pedal. It changes the striking distance and the key depth, so that the distance the hammer travels and the distance the key travels, and that influences the texture of the sound. So there are three functions associated with these two pedals. It's either that, which is, as opposed to as a full sound, it changes the nature of the sound, the projection of the sound, and if you have the shift pedal, so you only strike two strings in the mid-range, and of course it influences sustain, and you can take the two left pedals, come back in, Fiona, you can take the two left pedals together. You're gimbling away, aren't you?
Yeah. Your gimbal's having a gimbal moment, is it?
So you go this, this, or this, and that will. See? You can play very, very softly. So these pedals are very instructive for a pianist. They actually, normal piano is mostly controlled by the technique, and that's about all you've got in terms of textural control. But in these pianos you have these elements, and you have to think about the texture, you have to think about the phrasing, so it's instructive from that point of view. It's leading the novice or the pianist to actually really think and explore textural and dynamic influences on sound.
So
you
in actual
can't
fact,
do on a normal piano.
this set of keys is not the same as your average set of keys, because with the fourth pedal you must have another set of hammers.
No. It's all that. It just operates a lever system.
Right.
So it's reduced, as you see, the keys are going down. So instead of being 11 mils, they go down to say probably 8.
Yeah.
So that affects the sound production, and of course it's raising the hammers. So this one is this operation, this one is this operation, and together it's this and this.
And lifted. Yeah.
So we know that these are the critical and essential methods of controlling the production of sound. And I just cannot understand why they're not used in all pianos. I think it's a great admission, actually. Or no, sorry, it's a great omission of a sensible solution.
Yeah.
Now,
And of course pianists, they think, oh yes, well you don't need, there's a gimmick, it's blah, blah, blah. Total rubbish. You can't achieve the acoustic outcome using just pure technique. You just can't do it. So really it's a matter of, a lot of people just do not understand the mechanical functions of these things.